The market takes a dive last week as it follows our primary count. Are the bears done? This is Invest with Jacob. Okay, guys, so when I left you last week, I told you that the market was set up for a move to the downside and that the bears needed to break 44.53 to continue that move down, and that's exactly what we saw. The market pushed through 44.53 and continued to dive as it followed our primary count. Now, the question is, can the bulls hold on? I'll get into that in just 1 second, but first, if you're new here, welcome to the show, guys. My name is Jacob Gabbard, and this is Invest with Jacob, where we use Elliott Wave Theory to break down the SP 500 and the NASDAQ. I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below so that you can get our daily S&P updates, our trade setups, and our buy alerts. All right, guys, I was out Thursday and Friday of last week, but as always, PT was the substitute teacher, and he was able to do awesome, as you can see in the room from the testimonials. If you want to be part of this winning team, stay tuned for later in the video. But for now, let's jump into the chart and take a look. Okay, guys, so here we are on the daily futures chart for the S&P 500. And if you recall, back in October of last year, I said we were bottoming down here and on our way to 4,300 plus. That's exactly what we saw. Admittedly, they did push higher up here than we thought they would. But now we're in a very key time for the overall big picture. And the reason for that is this. So off of the low, you can count this two basic ways. You can have our ABC up that we talked about last October. Okay. And then we would be starting a bigger move down in a C wave that would end up breaking down much deeper than the October lows. Or we can count this as a 1-2-1-2 setup where you have 1, 2, 1, 2. The move to the highs back in July would have been the wave 3 of 3. Then the pullback here in August would have been 4 of 3. I'm sorry, A of this wave 4. Then we get a B wave bounce, and then we'd be looking for C down to complete 4 of 3. Then we look for 5 of 3, overall wave 4, and then wave 5 up toward the 5,000 area. Now, the reason this is a critical time is because we are at the point where the bulls must hold, and if they don't, things can get real ugly. So what does that mean? Well, when you have a 1-2 setup, you have a pivot, and the pivot is here at the 42.43 to 43.57 ES area. And so essentially what that becomes is about 4,200 to 4,300 on the SPX. So as they come down, the 1.0 of this ABC move, which is what you would expect to target, is 42.6175. As long as the bulls can hold that, or essentially just hold 42.43 on the ES or 4,200 on the SPX, as long as they can hold that, and we see a sharp rally here in 5 waves, we would expect them to continue on in this pattern up to 4,800, a pullback, and then on up to new all-time highs just over the 5,000 area. However, if the bears push through the 1.0, okay, and they break down through 4,200 and 4,200 on the SPX and 42.43 on the ES, okay, that opens the door for this to move down to the 4197 area, a bounce, the 4,000 area, a bounce, and then, I'm sorry, the 4,094 area, and then the 4,000 area overall to complete what would be wave 1 of a much bigger wave C. Then we'd look for a wave 2, and then you'd look for a wave 3 fallout after that. So there is a key time coming up in the market. We're pretty close to it on the big picture chart. Essentially, 4,200 on the SPX, 42.43 on the ES are the key numbers to watch. If those break, then the downside opens up. If those hold, then we look to 4,800 next. Now let's drill into the hourly chart. Okay, so on the hourly, like we talked about on the big picture, you have this A wave down, this B wave up, and then you would have a C wave down. And again, we extended, I talked about this last week. If you go back and watch my video, this bigger 1-2 setup that we got lines up for extensions in wave 3, and that's exactly what we got, this extension to the downside where it blew through the 1-2-3-6, 1-3-8-2, and 1-6-1-8. I also told you that the NASDAQ was very well set up for extensions, that we should expect to see that should they break to the downside, and that's what we got. And so we're trying to complete this C wave down. Again, 4,200 is the overall target that they must hold on the bullish side on the SPX, and 4,243 on the ES. So it does look like we got a wave 3 down. This would be a pretty shallow wave 4, but it is possible that that's wave 4 of 3, and then we'd be starting 5 of 3 down towards about the 4320 area or so, potentially even 4272. But we would look for a bounce in wave 4 up toward around the 4426 to as high as 4453. 4453 is about as high as we'll allow for this, but 4426 should really be where we're targeting that resistance area, which is these bottoms over here. It's also back to the 1236, which is how Elliott Wave works. You move your pivot down. So we target the 1236, then we would look for 5 of 3 down towards the 4320 to 4300 area. One more bounce in wave 4, and then down in 5 toward that 4275 area we've been talking about since really since they had a 3-wave move down and bounced. I've been saying that we should be looking for this move down into the pivot because it is around the 618 and they pushed over the 1.0 on the big picture. That's exactly what you'd look for. For the bulls, they don't have a lot going for them right now. You would expect to see this continuation of the downside. However, a pushback over the 4453 area could signal that this wave 4 is done and we're on our way back up. It would need to be in 5 waves. So you'd want to see a 5-wave move up, and you'd want to see it break through this 4453 area and that retrace, and that should tell us that we're not going to continue down impulsively, and if it's 5 waves up, we could be already done with 4 and on our way higher. Over on the NASDAQ, okay, on the NASDAQ daily chart, big picture view, guys, we are still have this ABC in place. We also have the 3 of 3. It's exactly the same as the ES. The numbers are going to be a little different on what we're looking at because they blew through the pivot here and extended. So when you have an extension, you just kind of have to get the 382 retrace for your wave 4. And so right now, typically wave 4 would target about 14,630 to 14,128. So this moved down in this wave 4 right here. So you'd expect it to come down. The 1.0 targets 14,514, which is right dead in the middle of these two numbers, which is what you would expect. So you would look for them to hold the 14,500 area on the NASDAQ overall in the big picture. Then you'd look for this 5 of 3 up in 5 waves back toward the highs back here in the 17,000 region. Then you'd look for a pullback and then up toward 18 to 19,000, just depending on how this structure sets up. But overall, that would be the bullish count. The bearish count would be if they come to the downside here and they start to break through 14,514. They must hold 14,128. If they break through 14,128, that does open the door to the downside for a much bigger C wave down into this 9,000 area overall. So very similar to the ES, they have to hold a number. That number on the NASDAQ is 14,128. As long as they hold the NASDAQ futures at 14,128 or higher, we would expect them to push back up toward this all-time high in the next wave, and then pull back one more time before pushing out toward the 18 to 19,000 range. However, if they cannot hold 14,128, then the downside opens up in a big way. Okay, so the downside on the NASDAQ looks very similar to the ES. The ES, they broke through the 1.0, the 236, the 382, broke through the 1618. I warned about this last week, that if they broke the 1.0, we would likely see extensions in the NASDAQ, so we could hit our target down here in the 14,400 area. And so that's what we've seen to the downside. They gave us a little bit of a bounce, did not break this low, and are kind of bouncing again. You would expect them to hit the 15,096 area up to as high as 15,216. Now, over the 15,216 area, and it's going to be too much of a bounce, and the bulls will have the advantage at that point. But we would expect them to come back up into this area, 15,096, come back down toward the 14,7 area, bounce one more time, and then down toward the 14,396 area overall to complete this move down on the NASDAQ overall in a wave 4, where we would then look for a rally to the upside off of that area. Again, if they cannot hold that 14,128 level to the downside, then it opens up for us to be in a bigger C wave, and we would look for continuation in bigger extensions down. So the NASDAQ right now, same as the ES, back over the 1.0 at 15,216, and that's going to be an issue to the upside. They need to hold that level. But as long as they can stay under that number and push down, we would expect them to get down into that 14,400 area overall to complete this move. And then we would look for a bounce after that. Guys, if you love the information that I put out in these videos and you want real-time market updates from me, you need to check out investwithjacob.com. There's a link down in the description. Go ahead and click that link. It'll take you right over to the website. Once you're there, check out our membership plans area. We have 2 incredible monthly plans that both come with a 7-day free trial. Because I want you to get in there, I want to make sure you love it, and I want you to become part of our trading team before you ever spend a penny, and you can cancel at any time. We also have our Elliott Wave for Beginners online course. I just ran an awesome sale for it last week. If you have not seen this course, it is helping real traders make real money and finally understand the market in a way that makes sense instead of the news cycles where you get good CPI and the market goes down or vice versa. It is 25 videos where I go through 3 different sections: an introduction, where we go through your expectations, your mindset, the KISS theory, and why it works; your chart setup and tools, where I go over every single tool you need to use with Elliott Wave Theory to understand when the targets are being hit and what to look for reversals; and then the Elliott Wave for Beginners portion, where we go through each and every wave, as well as corrective zigzags, theory of alternation, corrective depth theory, the pivot, all of the different things you need to know to understand the market and finally be able to make money trading. The really cool part about that course is it is included in both of my monthly rooms. So if you decide to become a monthly member, you get it for free. In my first room, the Invest with Jacob room, you get all of my real-time market updates, all of my buy and sell alerts, all of your Elliott Wave questions answered, a midday video where I go over exactly where we are in the counts and what to expect, as well as the trading material you just saw. We trade the SPY and the QQQ, and we swing trade, which means our trades can last anywhere from a few days to a few months, so we don't trade quite as often as a day trading room does. However, if you are interested in day trading as well as individual stocks, you need to check out PT's Throne Room. As you saw earlier, people were killing it in there. They always do. PT is an incredible trader. And in that room, you get everything you get in the Invest with Jacob room, as well as individual stocks, day trading, and PT's reduced risk binary method that just crushes the market. He gets you in at a cheap price and gets huge multiples on your money, and it's how he structures his trades. It's so unique. It's something you really have to see to understand, and that's another reason we give you that 7-day free trial. He also started a challenge account where he put $4,000 into an account, trading mini ES futures, averaging 3 to 4% gains per week, showing you how to build a small account into a large retirement or savings account. Guys, we would love to have you in these rooms so we can all make money together. Key takeaways for today. In the big picture, the number is 4,200 on the SPX, 4,243 on the ES. On the small picture, we're looking for a bounce here toward the 44.26 to 44.53 area, then another push down below 43.41 towards the 4,300 area. From there, one more bounce and then down toward 42.72. Over on the NASDAQ, the big picture number is 14,128. If they can hold that, we should be bullish to the upside. However, if that breaks, it does open the door for a bigger move lower. Right now, we're looking for a bounce up toward the 15,096 to 15,216 region. Above that, and we are looking for the bulls to try to take back control of the market. We should look for a push down after that toward the 14,700 to 14,650 area. One more bounce, and then the 14,429 area. Guys, that is your market update for today. I will talk to you tomorrow.